Welcome to the AACFB's 2021 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I will be your host. Our presenter today is John Boddigheimer from 4-Hour Funding, CENTRA, with support from Alan Justman. 4-Hour Funding is both a funding source member and a gold sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support. Before I introduce 4-Hour Funding, I'd like to go over a few things to make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that will allow you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions in the box and they should be answered by the end of the webinar. The entire webinar should take no more than 30 to 45 minutes. For most of you who would like to review the webinar at a later date, it will be posted on the 2021 Meet the Funder page of the website and will be emailed out to the AACFB membership. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to John. It's all yours.
Okay, we'll start. Welcome AACFB members and non-members. I am Alan Justman, the Vice President of Broker Relations in the Central Region. I'm with our founder and president, John Boddigheimer. We'd like to, John's going to have a great presentation, but before we get into it, as you can see in the background, there's one question that's always questioned, and it's our caveman mascot. And I wanted to give you some insight on that. When John founded the company in 2008, he always identified our industry as primitive, not evolving. And his presentation will reflect where 4-Hour Funding is going and the difference between our competition. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce again John. And
thank you, everybody. First off, it's great to see everybody back at work. For many of you guys, I know it's been a very interesting 13, 14 months, but we've all gotten through it very well. And we find ourselves in a unique situation now of really rapidly expanding volume and some unique opportunities in this coming year. First off, a little bit about ourselves. CENTRA Funding and 4-Hour Funding was started in 2008. We're headquarters in Plano, Texas. We do have 3 other offices around the country. We are a direct funder. We buy transactions to hold. We don't really sell them off. And we do all strictly EFAs. Our deal range is 5 to 150K. However, we are about ready to start moving all the way on up to 200,000. So it's been a slow process as we've increased our portfolio size. First off, one of the things I want to tell everybody, as brokers, and as somebody who's been in this business for, believe it or not, 37 years, we were just talking a little bit about that. I've seen pretty much everything. When you ever examine what you need to be successful as a broker out there in the field, it's really just 6 different points that you guys always need to identify. And these are the concepts that in the qualities that I sought to embed in our company when we developed CENTRA and 4-Hour Funding. Number 1 is consistent and fast funding. As you've noticed, whenever you mix funders, the one problem most brokers do encounter is that some funders are quicker than others, and usually they suffer when there's a lack of consistency, meaning that when your vendor at one point got a quick funding and the next time it's taking forever. The other one is you need a funder with wide credit window. You will find that, again, this kind of is somewhat intertwined with the first one in that when you're mixing so many different funders, if your funder doesn't have a wide credit window, say he just has great rates, but because of his great rates, he's confined to just a certain type of credit. And so again, you're introducing inconsistent service to your vendor, which usually results in you losing a vendor. Number 3, you need fast approvals. Obviously, you want to get to people fast while they're still receptive to financing their equipment. Number 4, ease of application process. You want something that there's not a huge amount of hassle or items in your way to finish the transaction. Number 5, reasonable rates. You know, if I were ranking the importance of every one of these qualities, this one would probably be fifth in my list, because you'll find as long as the rates are reasonable and fair, you can usually sell the rates. Again, the service and the ease is what you need to focus on. And finally, six, the ability to discuss special situations with your funder. We've all encountered this before. The worst thing in the world is to have a special situation and you can't explain it to anybody. If you have a funder that's in that mode, you'll probably find they're not very valuable when you need them. So first off, a little bit about us. We are a decent sized company now. We used to consider ourselves small. We're more of a mid-sized company now. We have roughly 50 employees. We just got done earlier this year closing on a $69 million securitization. So you'll find we're at that really nice size where we're not so large that it's impossible to work with us. And yet at the same point, we have all the flexibility, all the financial power we need, and all the programs and really infrastructure that you need to be successful. We break up our territories into 3 territories, and we do have genuine old style broker representatives. And by that, I mean, these people actually still go out and meet you. They still go out in the field. And so they are very active in our process. I know there's a lot of funders now that just have one person and they don't really do anything other than deliver bad news to you. In the West, we have, and by the way, I will say this, we have perhaps one of the best groups of broker representatives in the business. They're all extremely, extremely experienced. We have in the West, Kennedy Gilbertson. In the central area, Alan Justman, who you see just to my right here. And then in the East, Elaine Zucchi and Elena, of course, and Kennedy and Alan all have at least 20 years experience. First off, how does 4-hour funding work? First, we do require you guys to apply online. We don't take fax or, if anybody ever uses fax still, or email applications. And that is because it makes sure when you apply online that we're getting all the necessary fields for our scoring system to work. Credit approval takes approximately 2 hours. Obviously, there are times where it goes maybe a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. However, we do watch this very carefully. And number 3, we do e-docs and e-signatures. That's all we do. And the amazing thing about that is, in all the years I've been doing it, I've only ever had one customer that said he didn't want to sign electronic documents. Just about everybody else has embraced the technology now. We were one of the first adopters of this technology. We have been doing e-documents since 2008. So this has not been something that's been newly adopted by us since COVID. This is something that was basically built from the ground up in our process. Also,
Just a second.
Yeah.
One thing that I just want to make sure the broker community actually hears. Our intention is to take an application in the morning and for your broker commission and your vendor's invoice paid. That next day, it's all done. That's incredible. It's like going to Mars in this industry.
Yeah, Alan's point, it's one of the few places where 2 things can occur. You can get an application in the morning, and as long as your vendor and your customer can agree on pricing and you can get us an invoice, you can actually fund it by middle of the day. And here's another thing too. I've had brokers tell me we're one of the few places where we can have documents come back at 4 o'clock, meaning they're finally signed by all counterparties at 4 o'clock, and the deal still funds that same day. Not too many places do that. Again, this fits into just what I was telling you guys about earlier. It's about consistency and being able to offer the same type of funding service all the way through. First off, these are basic requirements. We'll go into a little more detail later. We are a 2-year time in business, except for Florida, which we require to be 3 years. And we do go down to a 590 credit score. Now, before everybody starts licking their chops and sending us deals for 590 credit for 150,000, understand this. At 590, can that guy probably get 20 or 25,000? Yes. Will he get 100 or 150,000? Probably no, unless there's some really good other information behind it. Like I said, we do go up to 150,000. We are a minimum $5,000 contract. Available terms, believe it or not, this is a little bit old here. I'll have to tell Josh in our marketing. We do now go to 72 months on some equipment items. Hard collateral, we will do 72 months, and some titled vehicles less than 5 years, we'll do 72 months. Bank statements, they are required over 50,000 with us. We do business in every state in the United States, even Hawaii and Alaska. We have people ask us that all the time. But we do not do business in territories. So Guam, Puerto Rico, sorry, I can't help you there. Site inspections, we do site inspections over 50 grand. And we have some partial restrictions, beauty salons, fitness clubs, tanning industries. We like to see at least 3 years time in business. Okay, as far as industry restrictions, certain types of industries we will be a little shy of. We can't do marijuana, gaming, logging, movie production, real estate. We don't do trucking, short or long haul. However, you will find that if your party involved is a transportation company working specifically in one industry, we do those. For example, someone who just, say for example, transports rock aggregate. And we get this information from the U.S. Department of Transportation. When they get their license, we can see what items they're actually transporting. As long as they're not in the general logistics business, meaning they just take freight from anybody, you'll find that those are the parties we don't work with. But if you're like somebody who needs gravel hauling, things like that, we do plenty of that. In fact, I think 13% of our business is in the titled vehicle market. So because of our ease of funding, we get a lot of titled vehicle transactions.
Before you go any further, there's one thing that John brought up, and it's the new business program. He didn't hit on the new business program, the 40K at 15% for some of our select brokers.
Yeah.
This is unmatched in the industry. It gives you that door to be open to that vendor that you've never been able to reach.
I'll kind of get into some of those programs. One of the big growing programs for us this year has been our new business program. And when you see some of the details on it, you realize it is probably one of the best values out there in the market. First of all, this is our, and by the way, all this information is in our standard broker guide. We have probably one of the most comprehensive broker guides. So if you're somebody who actually likes to read, not too many people do that nowadays, boy, we've got a book about, I'd say about a ½ inch thick with some great information in it for you. But this is our application-only credit matrix. Understand this, we credit score, but we are not so rigid that we are unwilling to break some of these criteria. So when you do have special situations, if you alert us, or if you feel like a deal still has merit and it doesn't fit these, we will still consider it. First off, main thing is we are looking for at least a 590 credit bureau. Obviously, it scales up as you start going up in dollar figure. Okay, so again, like I discussed earlier, a 590 credit bureau, you're probably not going to get 150,000. We do look for a minimum of 5 trade lines. Our systems do scrub out a couple of items. If you are a transaction with less, if your customer has a credit bureau line where it's less than 24 months old, we basically scrub that out. If it involves a student loan, we scrub that out. Those are items that we don't feel have predictive value. And so we don't even consider those. So sometimes you will get a decline from us and you think it looks good. Please call your broker rep and we'll be glad to go over it for you so you can see what to look for next time when you submit a transaction for us. Installment history, it's always important for us. However, there are times when we see transactions without installment history that we approve for high dollar figures. Home ownership on CBR, of course, we pretty much can take a lot of these transactions without home ownership up to 100,000. Even occasionally some go over 100,000 again, if there's a special situation. PayNet history, we do love PayNet. We do not look at Dun and Bradstreet. That is a relatively worthless source to us. We don't feel it has any value. As far as bank statements, we do look at bank statements. We don't require them up to 50,000. Over 50,000, we do like to see them. In terms of the balances we're looking for, generally, as long as you have a medium 4 bank account, you're covered for a pretty reasonable amount, even if it's up to 100,000. In terms of real estate, business real estate, this is something that I like to tell brokers that it's a question you should ask everybody. If your customer owns business real estate, in our model, they actually get a push. So we will also search for it, even if you don't tell us of the existence of it. We'll search to see, because sometimes we can open it up and even provide a lower rate because the customer owns his own business property. One last thing is, you'll see at the very bottom, working capital loans. We don't finance people who have an existing working capital loan. We do make some exceptions here and there if the working capital loan is almost paid off. So there are some exceptions there, but generally we found that working capital loans, the minute somebody has one, they have about a 15% chance of being at default the minute they get one. All right, first our financing programs. We have a tremendous amount of programs. We have our new business program. We have a 90-day deferral program. We have a 6-month step-up program, which is fantastic. We'll go over that later. We have a new 72-month financing program. We have a thin-to-win program where if you put 5 points or less, you can get a lower buy rate. We're always testing out also new programs. We're actually testing out a 30 and 90-day same as cash program probably next month. That's going to be a limited release program to a few people while we test it out.
And also we encourage the brokers for specialty programs. John's always interested in reviewing existing programs you have, and we can make them better.
And for you brokers out there that do a lot of franchise business, we are very, very used to franchise business. I've probably done about 2,500 different franchises in my life in terms of units out there that we financed. We're very familiar with it. The main thing on franchises is they at least have 50 units out there operating. We will consider them. Just get the FDD, which is the franchise disclosure document, over to us. And that can open up even new businesses up to 150 or 200,000. And in regards to the title vehicle program, like discussed earlier, this has become a really, we never envisioned doing a ton of title vehicles when I started CENTRA 4-Hour, simply because we didn't want to deal with the logistics business. However, because our ease of funding is so convenient for people, we started getting a lot, and now it's a pretty large amount. Like I said, it's roughly about 13% of our business now. We do a lot of box trucks, a lot of box vans, a lot of trailers, you name it. We do like this business as long as it's not the general logistics industry. If your vendor can do the titling, you will probably not have an easier title vehicle deal because it's all electronic. There's no power of attorneys or anything when the vendor can do the titling. If your vendor cannot do titling, we do use outside third-party titling companies for it. It is a slightly slower process because you do have to wait for those third-party titling quotes to come in before we can close the transaction. Another nice feature, we do have, you have to specifically ask for this. We do have a no prepayment payoff penalty contract. We do a couple of these transactions a month. It's a great feature to be able to have. And lastly, and one of the things that most people don't realize about us until all of a sudden they do a lot of volume is we have a monthly bonus program. So we offer pretty good rates running from 7%. Our buy rates run from 7% for our 1A rate all the way up to new business rates that run either 24, 29 yield. And the nice thing about this is when you factor in that you can also get bonus on all that, your actual final rate is actually much lower. The way our bonus program works is as long as you get 125,000 in a month with us or 225,000, at 125 you get a 1% bonus. At 200,000 you get a 2% bonus. It's just another nice reason to keep doing a lot of business with us. One thing we do here at Centra 4-Hour is we're always thinking of innovative ways. We are looking at new programs. We're very big on technology. One of the new things that's going to be coming out this next month is our HOURGLASS mobile app. And this is a really nice groundbreaking application. This isn't like a lot of portals that you may have seen where it just shows your business and it shows you how much you funded and things like that. This is a little more different, and it provides you with an ability to see how fast, how busy we are right now, how fast it's taking for us to process applications that day. It tells you how fast it takes to get decisions that day. You can even see on our DocuSign system where your documents are. You'll be able to see if your customer has opened the documents, whether he signed them. It's really got some great predictive power, and we have some new technology we'll be rolling through in version 2 and 3s in the years to come. But again, it's one of the things where we're trying to lift the hood of the machine so you can actually see underneath it. You can actually see with this who's actually working on your file too, which is really quite interesting. So I think it's going to give every broker kind of a view into the funder that you've never had before. In terms of how to meet us, again, we do have broker reps that are going to cities every month. Our broker reps are always on the road, but you can also meet us at the AACFB conference coming up. There are also, we do have brokers, once they work with us, if they do enough volume, sometimes we just fly them in. It is very important for you guys to realize that we value the relationship and we want to get to know you better. And by the way, I've been told that we are at booth 100 on the AACFB conference, so it's pretty easy to remember.
Front door on the left.
Yep. How to get with us, and then I'll go into a couple of the other programs and show you basically some of the other programs that we have. But again, we have 3 great broker representatives. The basic emails here are first name and at 4-Hour Funding. We also have Centra Funding. Sometimes we have some people with similar names, so that may change. The convention may change if we have more than one person with a Kennedy, but in this case we don't. Take a look at these, take a snapshot of these, call these people here. You will find they're very, very capable broker reps, and they can definitely help you. Now, oops, let me do this. Let me now kind of take you guys to one other sheet and to show you, this is our broker kit. And one thing you'll find about our programs here, they're very detailed. Hold on, let me do this full screen here. How do I do full screen on this? Sorry about this, everybody. No, can't on this one. No sweat. You'll find that all this information is covered in our screens here, or excuse me, our broker kit. One thing that is unusual about us, it's important for you guys to note, we do run a little different than a lot of funders out there. A lot of funders, they work on the process to where they give you an approval with a ton of conditions, you dock it, and you send it in, the documents, and then for the next week and a half, you're fighting over the conditions, you're fighting to get the deal funded. It's a very messy process. The customers are usually upset because they know they signed their contracts. They still don't know where their funding is. We don't work that way. We found it's detrimental to the closing process. The way we work is we do require everybody get their contingencies done ahead of time. And the neat thing about how we work is, though, as soon as the documents are signed by the customer, they go right into funding. The only thing that stops it is if it hits an anti-fraud check. Which is pretty rare. Maybe only a couple transactions a month may trip one of the anti-fraud wires or anti-fraud tripwires that we have. So you'll find that as a result, you can have consistent service. Again, remember that #1 thing we talked about that you have to have as a broker. It's consistent and fast service. This way, customers know the minute they sign the documents, it is going to fund that day. give you guys an idea how powerful this process is. This is for the last 4 years. Our closing rate, once documents are sent out via our system, is 88%. Let that sink in, because it's probably about 20 points higher than just about anybody else you work with. We have an extremely high close rate. And part of it is because the way we work. And usually some brokers at first try to say, hey, can I do it this way? And we tell them, and after a while, they get it. They see the higher closing rate and they go with it. So it's very important for you guys to understand that. We do have very explicit, the way we work, very explicit instructions on how to do your documents. The nice thing is when we issue you guys an approval, you will find that at the bottom of every approval are your links to actually do your documents. And let me move on to some of the other programs. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see some of this. Our new business program is fantastic. You will find this is probably one of the best programs in the industry. Very few people, and one thing that's not on the sheet, certain industries like plumbers, electricians, tradesmen, we'll even go down to 15 yield on a new business on those particular people. So the value is definitely there. With our new business program, you will see that we do $25,000 to $40,000. Again, certain industries you will find we will lean a lot more for. We are looking for a 650 credit score. People who are under 650 credit score, we like to see full banking statements. But other than that, it's an app-only transaction. Very easy to do. One thing that's true to all our programs, whether it's for existing businesses, whether it's a 1A rated customer, all the way on up to our tier 5 customers, we do allow you to choose, and sometimes we actually use these as credit enhancement to go even 1 payment advance, 0 payment advance, 2, 10% first payment, or even a 20% first payment. You will find that we get more aggressive with approving somebody if they have a 20% first payment or 10% first payment. They have skin in the game right away. That is very much a tool that we use here at Centra and have used very well. And I think to date, we may only request it about 5% of the time, a 10% payment or higher. But believe it or not, in our portfolio, roughly a quarter of our portfolio has a 10% or 20% first payment. And that's because your rate factors do drop dramatically. When we do that, you can present the customer with a much lower rate. This is our basic rate chart. Again, our basic rates start at 8. If you go thin to win rates, you can actually drop that 100 basis points. So you can go to a 7% on a 1A, a 9% on a 1B. So we do give you a way in which you guys can lower your rate just by deciding not to put as many points as you normally do on the transaction.
Hey, John, we're not seeing the slides that you're describing.
Oh, you're not?
No, all we see is the closing information and the slides.
It says we are screen sharing. That's odd.
Yeah, you're sharing your screen, but the only slide we're seeing is the closing information.
Let's do this. Yeah, let's reshare it here. There we go. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. And this is our thin to win program here. And just to probably make it easier for everybody, I'll just go backwards a little bit. And oh, you know what? Here's the problem. When I do that, you can't move this program around. Yeah, so let's go ahead and just stop sharing. I'll go into it a little bit. Okay. All right. And so other than that, we do have some other programs out there. We have a 90-day deferral program. We have a great program, which is called a 6-month deferral step program. And the nice thing about this is it allows you, the customer, to make like a 40% payment for 6 months, and then it bounces them up to a full payment. So all in all, we have just tremendous, to tell you the value of 4-hour for a broker out there, what 4-hour really brings you is a very, very wide credit window. And with a very wide credit window, you can service most of your customers. On top of that, you have very consistent and fast service, very fast funding. So it allows you to really take care of those really important brokers where you're worried about those things, where you can potentially lose them simply because your service is uneven. So just about every broker should have 4-hour, especially when you throw in things like the new business program and things like that out there. We really present a tremendous value for the broker community.
Super. So I think we're going to have a number of our existing brokers. We're going to bring in a few of our main staff members in the departments so that you can get a look at them, as we usually are able to travel and meet. In this case, with the COVID, we're going to run a few people by and
you'll get to, you have to put the name to the face. So come on in. Just sit down. No, sit this. Come over here. Just sit down, say hello, and then you can get up.
Hello, Vincent LaJoy, credit.
Both teams played hard.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Frank Latteral.
I'm Isaac. I'm part of credit.
Yep. These are credit. These are all. Hi, I'm Eric. These are all the people who are making your credit decisions.
Alrighty.
And then Jax.
Jack's down. Hurry.
Hurry.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the great and powerful Jax. He takes care of your documentation requests and everything.
okay.
Hi there. I'm Connor.
And
I do documents with
All right.
Jax. Nice to see everyone.
Hi, I'm Nikolai. I do a little bit of everything.
he's credit though,
Great.
credit manager.
So double agent.
Hi, Jill. You?
Hi, I'm Jill, and I'm new this week, so.
Yeah. And she
Learning
does,
everything.
she's doing, right now she's training. Actually, to let everybody know, we have had a very stellar 2021 so far. And just this month, we added 4 new employees to help cover the additional volume unit increases that we've been seeing.
Excited to be here.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I am the operations manager, and I also handle titling and help with fundings also.
Thank you, Sandra. Courtney?
Hi, I'm Courtney. I work in funding.
Yeah, by the way, you'll notice we only have one funding clerk for an outfit as big as us, and that is because the process is as soon as docs come in, it goes right to fund. So we're kind of a nice open secret now. We do a tremendous amount of volume. And however, you'll find that compared to probably a similar sized competitor, they may have 6 or 7 funding clerks. So we are a very efficient house how we work as a result. So I'll open the floor to any questions. Monica, do you see any questions there I should attend to?
Yes, we have a few. The first question is, do you fund towing?
We will consider towing. I will be the first to tell you it is a higher risk industry. So we do approach it in that way. So we are looking for a stronger than better credit on that.
Probably Teresa. Can question.
Okay.
Does the vendor and the customer have to be, do they have to be in the same state to have a title done by the vendor?
Technically not, no. However, your vendor has to be set, some large vendors can do titling in multiple states, but usually that is true. The vendor and the customer have to be in the same state for them to do the titling.
Someone said, I've had a business owner ask me if I can get funding for a luxury SUV in the 70,000 mark or range. would that be something you would look at? He has great credit.
Usually we stay away from personal vehicles because it can at some point be construed as maybe a personal loan, which we don't do by mandate. So usually find us a little bit reticent to do something like that, unless of course it may have been wrapped and it's got all kinds of logos on it and it's obvious it's for business deliveries or something along those lines.
Will you provide clients with cash to cover soft costs for equipment deals that require installation?
Actually, that's one of the new programs we may be rolling out with in the coming months, which is we are actually in the near final stages of trying to set up a program that does exactly that. So stay tuned.
Great. And just for anyone else who's wanting to ask a question, please type those in the Q&A box and we'll get those answered for you.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing any right at the moment. Give
Yep.
it seconds.
You know,
It's great to see all your new people though.
oh yeah, we've, you know, to let everybody know, we've had, you know, one thing I'll tell everybody, and this is a really important thing to think about. When COVID hit last year, there were a lot of funders that temporarily shuttered their doors, that didn't honor approvals. You know, remember this, during that time, CENTRA did just the opposite. Not only did we keep operating and funding our approvals, but we actually were aggressive and actually went after business in 2020 when everybody else wasn't. That's one of the things that really propelled us going into this year. We developed a lot of new customers. A lot of people got used to us because even in early, you know, even in mid 2020 with COVID raging, we were still doing new business applications and new business fundings. So, you know, that's a great demonstration of our belief in the market and the belief in our own product. And our credit model definitely survived all of that. We've done extremely well. In our transactions we booked in 2020 had done fantastic. Unlike a lot of people, we grew in 2020 and we continue to grow. And the growth rate is not your standard growth rate. At CENTRA here, probably for the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years, we tend to double about every 18 months. So to give you an idea of the kind of growth rate, we're constantly having to stay ahead, but you will find the entire management of CENTRA. It is a very big enterprise now, but we are not afraid to try to stay ahead and keep our service levels where we think they need to be.
We did have a few other questions. Can you explain the broker sign-up process?
If you go to the 4hourfunding.com website, we have a centrafunding.com website. We have a 4hourfunding.com website. The 4hourfunding.com website is where you will find our information. You can go on there and click the button that says become a broker, and you will click it. And that is your starting process. You'll need to download your void check, as well as put in your information in there. And then at that point, we'll send you a broker agreement to sign. You can be set up within a day.
Great. Do you allow co-signers onto deals where the co-signer is not part of the business ownership?
Let's put it this way. It has a little bit of value, but not a ton with us. If the co-signer is a family relative, meaning that it's a mother or a father or a brother, we'll look at that and it helps a little bit. But if it's a third party that's just a friend, it's not going to help very much with us.
Can you explain your vehicle titling program?
Can I explain it? Well, the main thing is, first off, always go to, there's a site called safersys.org. It's the U.S. Department of Transportation site where they list out your license information. We go on there first thing when we see it's a transportation transaction, and we view, do they do general freight? If they do general freight, we're probably going to have an issue with the customer. But if they don't, if it's specific, if it says hay and agricultural products, or if it says, then we're wide open to doing them. And in terms of that, it's a standard application. At the point of doing documents, we do have a document, a special document checklist for title vehicles, where we do require a front and back of the title. Let me see, what else, Jax, you might come in here because you're dealing on these all the time.
Well, are we talking about the vendor doing the titling or us doing the titling?
Either one.
Yeah, it doesn't-
If it's requiring us to do it, we need to get the information to send off a quote. We'll get the quote. I'll need to have the back of the title signed off, our lien listed. If the title doesn't allow space for us to list our lien, then we have to get a title out from that state. We also require insurance. We're willing to work with people. Our general rule is $1 million. But if it's a small trailer, something under, $20,000, we'll work with those within those limits. Everything just needs to be complete. We need to be loss payee, additional insured, lien holder, and have comp and collision listed. So
If the vendor can do titling, you pretty much need just the insurance in place, and that's pretty
Yes.
much it. It runs like a standard transaction. That's why we do a lot of title vehicle deals, because when the vendor can do the titling, it is a very, very fast process.
yes, we do a lot of title.
Right?
What are your requirements for owner-operator trucks like CDL? Do they have to have the CDL? Do they have to have ownership, home ownership?
Again, if they're a general freight owner operator, we just don't do them. We don't care if they're long or short haul. We just don't do them. However, if they're, like I said, hauling hay or a aggregate or something specific, that is a little different to us. We just don't do the general logistics business. It's an industry restriction more than anything. I mean, even if they want a copier, we will kind of pass on it.
Gotcha. Do you do funding for municipalities?
No. And one other thing I might mention while I forget about it, we are examining, we do all EFAs here. And so for certain title vehicles, maybe in the future, we may even just, we are, to give you like kind of a peek into the future, we are always looking to improve our programs. And we're not seeing tremendous value in having liability insurance, seeing that we're just a lien holder. So we are having internal discussions whether long-term we're even going to ask for liability insurance on a lot of vehicles.
Okay. What industries are your sweet spot?
I love this question. This is one of my favorite questions. We love certain, and this is a great question from whoever asked it, because I will tell you this, every funder has certain industries where they dig deeper, they go lower. They just have had a good experience with it. For us, we love, of course, dirty machinery. We love yellow iron. We love transactions, for example, automotive repair equipment, spray booths. We do a ton in that type of business. You will find one other thing that's really unusual about us is if you have a slightly tougher deal and the guy has a little more cash down, we are definitely a place that our ears pick up if you tell us customer can put a 10% first payment down. And when we take a 10% first payment, we do it differently than everybody else. Most people think they just take that 10% and it's like a security deposit. We don't. We take it as a first payment. So if it's $100,000 on day one on the amortization sheet, his balance on day one will be $90,000, even though we're taking it as a first payment. So it gets reflected in the yield. But to us, what that signals to us is that this person has what we call skin in the game. They have put their money where their mouth is, and you usually find we dig a little deeper on those. Plenty of times we do have someone needs to sharpen their pencil on rate, They'll even come to us and say, hey, if I do a 10% first payment, will you lower my rate from a 12 to a 10 yield, from a 2A to a 1B rate? We'll frequently take that deal. So you will find that when the customer is willing to do a larger first payment, we step up to the plate too.
Great. Here's another question over here. Does the 10 to 20% first payment affect the amount you'd finance if their credit score is a little lower?
Yes, we do more. You know, we've had for example, we've had some new business transactions where the guy wanted to get, you know, close to 60, 70,000, but it was a good piece of collateral. We looked at it and the customer was willing to put 20% first payment down. We've done some deals like that. Again, you're talking, you know, I think one major difference between Centra and a lot of funders you'll see out there is that a lot of funders, they've developed in the way in which it's all about their own internal score. And if it doesn't hit the internal score, they pass on it. No one ever really looks at a transaction deeply anymore. At Centra, we have a really good credit staff that are extremely well trained with a lot of experience. You have to realize that as a credit outfit here, we process over 1,000 applications a month. So it's a pretty large number. And as a result, you will find very few places that are the size that we are that still allows the credit analyst to think, still allows him to look at a situation, to show you how we are different. We use our internal scoring basically as the starting point of where the rate is. And then we start looking at other factors. If we see that the customer owns the business property, that may move the rate down. If we see he has other family members working at the company, again, we're really big in a lot of non-standard credit factors in order to approve transactions. If we see a customer has his entire family working there, that all of a sudden becomes a better deal to us, because think about it. What would happen if he decides to close the business? Well, not only is he out of a job, so is his daughter, so is his son-in-law, so is his wife, so is his, you know, other daughter. That's the way it works. And so we do take those into account. And I think most people in this industry don't. So we dig very deep. What's funny is we may look at a $25,000 transaction and it may go through the entire credit process in less than an hour and a half. And you will find that if we ever printed out the file information for that, it may be this thick. It may be a half an inch thick of all the information. We'll know what kind of car the guy drives. Again, there's times where we look at it and we say it's a little bit weaker deal, but we look at it and the guy just bought a brand new $60,000 car. We say to ourselves, he must be feeling good about his life. Again, we allow our credit people to think. And we stand by that. And that's what really makes us very much different than a lot of places that, it didn't hit our score, we don't even want to look at it again. And that's the other thing. You can bring us additional information at times and we will consider it.
Great. I don't see, oh, here's another one. How about hot shot services equipment for oil fields like F450 truck?
One of the problems we do have, and this is in today's world, we do have certain covenants on the loans as well as the facilities we are in charge of. And part of the problem is we do have some ESG guidelines we do have to follow. ESG guidelines are environmentally, socially, social guidance. And one of them is we do have to kind of avoid a lot of the oil field type business. So unfortunately, that's one we have to pass on. And it's hard for me because I'm an old oil believer. And of course, being in Texas, we know the oil business pretty well. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. So with that, we'll wrap it up. A big thanks to all our participants, and especially our valued funding source and gold sponsor for our funding, Centra. Thanks for a great job, John and Alan. We invite everyone to meet with 4 Hour Funding in person in Nashville at our annual conference coming up September 8th through the 10th. Thanks everyone for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good year.